Good morning. This is Talk Back to Television, and I'm here with Soyoung Lee from 12 Labs. Soyoung, how are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me, Eric.
I'm doing fine, and in spite of the fact that you're supposedly in front of the Golden Gate Bridge, you're actually not there today. You travel all over the place.
Yep.
Yup. Okay, you're at 12 Labs. Tell us what 12 Labs is, please.
Yep. So 12 Labs is a research and product company that builds multimodal foundation models. What foundation models are general purpose AI models that can contextually comprehend large amounts of data. In our case, we build models that helps our customers understand what lies in their own video repository. So typically, every customer that has a large video library that relies on methods such as manual tagging, or they're watching through searching their library of content, they're able to now simply describe any moment they're trying to find in every language as if you're conversing with a friend, and you're able to find that specific point, almost like Command F or Control F for video.
Okay, so now, since I'm not an engineer, but I live and breathe television, if I were Paramount and I had a warehouse full of old CBS shows, 88, 70 years of that stuff, most of which isn't digitized, so you can't do anything with that. Almost none of it has metadata attached, but that doesn't matter to you, does it?
No, that's exactly right. So it's almost like creating this perfect memory of the content. And it's everything that you can see, but also everything you can hear. And it's contextual. So it's not just saying what objects are in every frame. It's actually understanding context. Is the water, are you spilling water from a glass? Are you drinking the water? All of these things are context.
Okay.
What's the background music
All
as
right.
that's
So
happening?
so 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 let's dig into my
Yeah.
model, and I only know the CBS thing because Mark DeBois, who used to run CBS Interactive, who's I'm recording a show with him tomorrow. He once told me that some ungodly number, like 90% of everything that CBS owns, no one has cataloged yet. It's the old kinescopes, for heaven's sakes, of the Jackie Gleason show. Um, and, any of the comedies of that stuff have laugh tracks, which I would assume would basically screw up your software because the laugh track often has nothing to do with what happened on the screen. Somebody just hit the laugh button and everybody went, ha 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 ha. But it, doesn't mean that it was
Sure.
actually funny. But you could go in. Let me just take, if I gave you an image of Red Skelton, the old comic, okay, who did 88 different shows of his own and guest appearances there and guest appearances there. You could probably pretty easily find every clip in the library of Red Skelton, couldn't you?
Correct. So you could either describe what you're looking for, or you could show an image or
Yeah, yeah,
show
yeah.
snippets of
Well,
video
yeah,
or even
I
audio.
I want to teach your software. This is what he looked like. And
Yeah.
I don't know if your software has the ability to age, but I could say this is what he looked at the beginning of his career, and
Mhm.
this is what he looked like at the end of his career. So I'm helping the AI. Oh, I get what I'm supposed to look for. Okay. So you could do that and you could surface to me a custom catalog of Red Skelton bits, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you could then tell me which are very short, under 30 seconds, which are mid-length, 30 seconds to 90 seconds, which are longer than 90 seconds, which would help the poor kid in the corner who somebody told, give me a special about Red Skelton. I mean, that's kind of the model here, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I already own all the stuff. I just don't know what I've got.
That's exactly right. So imagine you're trying to create, highlights, trailers, content
Oh,
from older titles.
okay,
And yeah.
so here you go. I don't know how old you are, but I'm going to guess you're a whole lot younger than me. Um, do you recall any favorite network comedies when you were growing up?
Oh, I'm gonna say I actually learned English by watching Friends like 10 times.
Okay, okay, so Friends is good, okay? So if you were Warner Brothers and you actually owned Friends as opposed to licensing it over to somebody else, actually
Yeah.
owned the catalog of Friends, you could go in and find every single time Joey said, I'm not a doctor, I just play one on TV. It wasn't Joey who said that, it was the other one, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Anyway, okay.
Good memory.
But you could find all that stuff. And if
Yeah.
I were Warner Brothers and I wanted to monetize that on TikTok, you're perfect for me, aren't you?
Yeah. And you could even go more abstract than that, right? You could say Joey flirting, which is more
Joey
even
flirting.
that's more subjective. It depends on how you view flirting, right? It's not an actual thing you say, or an actual object. But you could say something like that, Joey flirting. One of my
How do you teach the software how to flirt or how to recognize the flirt?
I mean, it's based on heuristic, like statistics, right? It's how do we as humans recognize if somebody is flirting? It is subjective, inevitably, but it's based on understanding of like we consider our models to be marrying perception and reason. So
Okay.
it's perceiving at a very low level all the things that are happening or that exists in video, and it's doing some reasoning on top of that. So it's now kind of translating what it perceives into language so that we can interact in ways, humans can interact with the model's understanding and perception, which is interesting because the first use case I described of video foundation models is semantic search. You can search content, but you can also do the opposite. You can ask the AI what it's seen, and it will give you summaries, descriptions, or any metadata that you need
Okay.
about your content. Then you can know what it actually understands about it.
All right. So let's take another case. I want to know how my competition is doing. Can I allow your metadata to basically watch TV, right? And tell me what's working and what's not working for what Netflix is doing, because I basically know that every home in America has Netflix. And so they're not the core competition. Actually, they're the partner I need to work with. Could your software be used to tell me over at Paramount, and I'm not, but I used to work there years ago, I was at Showtime, to tell me what's working best at Netflix?
That's a very actually interesting problem because then we get into trend analysis and creative optimization. Uh, I would say in order for you to optimize for something, you do need to know metrics. So just perceiving is not enough. You do need to know, let's say you're a person who's trying to analyze what's performing well and not. Like if you're trying to do that on content for which you have the metrics of retention and viewership, then yes, perception is critical and can be very useful in doing that. But if you don't actually know how the show is doing, I don't, you can at least know what's happening in the video, but you would need to tie it to some business metric that you're
Okay.
trying to optimize
So,
for.
but I could tell you on the assumption that Netflix releases numbers, but they don't, but you can always get that somewhere. If I can give you a list of the top 10 Netflix shows, you could probably tell me what they all have in common, couldn't you?
That, yes, but you would also need to have the video, which if
Watch
you,
TV. Pay attention, turn
sure,
on Netflix, okay? It's channel, it's the Netflix channel. Turn
yeah.
on Netflix and go through and select, watch, pay attention to these 10 shows, which invariably have the biggest audience. Concentrate on those shows. Tell me what they have in common, what I need to do to
It's
replicate their results.
a pretty powerful idea.
Well, I'm sneaky like that. Um, that is my business. So, okay. So, this is fascinating stuff. Who are your customers other
So
than me trying to compete with Netflix?
which I'm sure you can. Um, Typically it's customers for whom their content is their business. So it ranges from large sports entities, rights holders, sports leagues, sports
Okay.
teams, studios, streaming platforms for various use cases. And for streaming platforms, it can range from everything from ad insertion and advertising, contextual advertising, to powering recommendation engines. Because once you extract context from video, you can utilize that in many different ways, whether it's an internal use case or something you're trying to actually bring directly to your audience. Uh, Recently, advertising, so ad agencies and brands that actually do trend analysis. So they're trying to understand how certain products are shown. But there's also a creative use case there where they're also trying to look at how they can repurpose,
Yeah.
utilize their archives for
The
creative
TikTok thing I
reasons.
talked about with
Yeah,
Joey and friends. Okay,
yeah.
so that's pretty wild stuff. You haven't been at this all that long, about 4 years, is that right? Probably seems
And
like a lot longer.
yes, but also in AI world, that is a long time with
That's a
many
few
changes.
lifetimes, isn't it?
That's way before ChatGPT, before GPT-3. So,
Oh,
so we've been doing video multimodal models prior to that. So we've also seen a massive change in the adoption curve of different industries, how our customers and partners think about AI and
oh yeah.
utilizing AI,
Yeah. I mean,
which is
just
fascinating.
okay. So here's the last one I'm going to ask. My
Yeah,
grandson, who's basically a soccer player, started the baseball season last night, and he's 8. He's standing up there. Do you watch baseball? You know a little bit.
sometimes
You know a
a
little
little
bit,
bit.
right? He's standing up there at bat, and he is swaggering, moving its
Mhm.
hips back and forth.
Yeah,
And I asked my son about that, and he said, "Why does he do that?" I said, "Well, keeps him in motion, prepares him to hit." And professionally, different baseball players do that to varying degrees. You would have the ability to train your software to watch every single baseball game and tell me how effective that swagger is with hitters. There's one for you.
amazing.
I'll call MLB this afternoon for you and send them over. I mean, the use cases are astonishing.
That's why video is powerful, right? Everything we
That's
do is
why
captured.
video is powerful. Wow. Okay. So we've used up most of the time, and I've thrown you a bunch of stuff. Tell me what the hottest thing is that you are working on right now.
Okay, just one.
Just one.
I'm gonna say two things actually.
Okay.
You said one, but two things.
I'll I'll
Um,
I'll give you two.
all right. One is agents. And I'm sure everyone has heard the word agent
Yep.
or seen some variation of it.
Agentic
Uh,
AI, whatever that all is. Yep.
Yeah. And really what it is just a higher level orchestration that can take a much more complex user prompt that feels much more natural to us. And it's the agent that's orchestrating underneath what specific prompts, what specific models it's stringing together to perform that higher level goal for us when we prompt it. So for 12 Labs, our AI models can help you search video, can help you summarize video,
Yep.
create descriptions for video. But once you do that, then the agent can solve a more complex problem of, okay, great, now go and draft me 10 highlights and give me EDLs from this show that would resonate with somebody in her 20s.
There you are.
Um,
Yep.
and that's something that we've open sourced last year so that customers can actually just take our open source code and build custom workflows on top of. So we're super excited to see where that goes. We have sports customers that have created automated prompt-based highlight
Yep.
generators that
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
bringing to fans, and so on. The second part is our partnership with Amazon. And for AI, as you can imagine, there's a lot of sensitivity in how it's run, how it processes data, security of data, and so on. And so recently at NAB, we just announced a partnership with AWS, where 12 Labs video models will be available through Amazon's Bedrock platform, which means it's almost the equivalent of being able to run AI models within your premise on-prem, except it would run in the cloud, um, where you're bringing the models to you, but without the burden of having to manage that infrastructure. So it's almost the best of both worlds. You're getting the best model, but you're also not having to, spin up your own GPUs. It's serverless, but it's also secure. And so that's a huge, I think, exciting thing that, especially for the industry, where your content is your business, and it's not something you want to risk.
And your timing is terrific on that because AOS has traditionally been a significant amount of Amazon net revenue. It's going to be significantly more as the tariffs take hold and the shopping bin they've basically run out of stuff in their warehouses. The AWS business is going to be a rocket ship inside Amazon. So you've got a tiger by the tail there. That's good stuff.
Cool.
All right. So you're currently in New York. You live in LA. You spend time in Seoul, but your office is in San Francisco, right?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Well, Soyoung Lee from 12 Labs, thank you for your time. I think we're going to have to talk again because your stuff is pretty exciting. All right. I'm going to sign off and we'll see everybody next
Cool.
week on Talk Back to Television. Bye bye.
All right. Thanks so much, Rick.